Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy, Ro. Welcome to Cloudy Chip TV. I'm here joined with my brother from another mother, Mag Gamer. And we're here actually to start discussing The Last of Us. Last of Us 2 is launching tomorrow, actually. So if you get to see this, June 19th is when they're launching. And I just figured we'll put together a nice little podcast just to kind of talk about The Last of Us 1, to talk about The Left Behind a little bit, and kind of like what are my thoughts on like going into part 2, because I think that's really important, honestly. Right now, just to give you guys a quick little brief summary of the story. So, just to rewind from the beginning, Ellie gets Joel ends up meeting Ellie throughout the story. Thinking, what was her name, Magdalene?
Who?
Believe it was Madeline, right? Madeline. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she might end up being Riley's mother, which is Ellie's best friend.
That's confirmed to no,
That
but
is no.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Riley ends up passing away. They both end up getting
Thanks.
infected.
Hey, by the way, spoiler alerts. By the way, we're going heavy on everything except part two. So, all right, continue.
All right, so Riley ends up getting infected together with Ellie. They both decide to wait it out. Ellie ends up figuring out that she's immune to the virus. So she doesn't. So she's actually bitten, but she's not infected. And they think that she might be the cure. And the goal is to try to get Ellie to the Fireflies. Joe ends up in the beginning of the story being attacked by by the infected and the military as well, actually going after anybody. They just want to kill just anybody because they think everyone's infected and they're trying to save the humanity, right? Save humans, and they don't even care. It can be kids, it can be adults, old people, don't matter. They coming for everybody. So Joe ends up getting attacked by the infected. Doesn't get infected, but he ends up getting away. But his daughter Sarah ends up passing away. It's a really touching moment right at the beginning. And then 20 years later, you got Joe partnered up with Tess. Now, Joe and Tess go on this little adventure to get back their guns, and their little best friend Robert's a little sneaky snake. And he ends up selling their guns off to the enemy, right? So they're going back to get their guns to see Robert. Of course, they meet Robert. Robert's pleading for his life. Tess is a gangster, so she ends up taking him out. It doesn't take much longer than that. Then they end up running into Madeline. I keep forgetting her name. Madeline. And she ends up saying, listen, I have this girl. I need you to do me a favor. Take her to the Fireflies. Do me that favor, right? And Tess feel like it's a big responsibility. And since they don't know why they're doing this, they figure out later on that she is immune. They say, oh, wow, this is really important. Tess gets actually bit. Then Tess ends up going ahead and getting infected. She ends up protecting them so they can go ahead and continue to run off with the Fireflies. At least that's the beginning story. Mag, do you want to touch on this?
Yeah, I played a different game. I don't know what you played, but I played a different game. So, what the just to talk about how I look at it, and I gotta not try to plug my tag with Mag show, but basically, I break down the psychological parts of what's going on. You got a devastating post-apocalypse thing with these infected, aka zombies, that are affecting the world, and then you start meeting characters who the world is affecting them mentally, emotionally, and changing the way they are. Joel, we met him as Cloudy Chip described, as a man that had a very, very beautiful life with his child, and then she actually gets killed by a military soldier. Is what happened, um, and basically that turning point of losing your daughter, and then the world's going crazy with this post-apocalypse that turned him into a dark man, and he ends up getting sent on a mission, which Cloudy Chip describes, reluctantly not wanting to have to babysit some kid, not knowing why that she was there, but not wanting to deal with her. So we already see right at the start of their relationship, they don't want to be around each other. I don't want to be with that guy. And then he's like, I don't want to do this job, but we need the resources. So he's doing it for the resources. He doesn't really care too much about the kid. Things get bad, but that's where you see the development of two human beings in a dark place and going through hard times and really having difficult dealing with this and still being human, because being human is about humanity, being having caring and gentleness and working together and but with the apocalypse happening, people are cutthroat survival mentality, and it can get dangerous just like in the real world. But what's amazing about the story, before we continue from where Cloudy left off, for me personally, you have a child who has never seen our world, the internet and video games and just the luxuries of simple things like ordering food or just anything you can think of that you have now that you might take for granted. This kid has never felt those things. So she's finally out in the world with this man who doesn't really care for her, but he's on a mission, and she's slowly discovering the world, the wonders of seeing the sky and the trees and animals, wild animals, and being able to look at comic books and things like this that she's never got in her life because she grew up in this post-apocalypse world. So those things are the most important things for me in the story of The Last of Us, and that's where it develops so many different branches within them. But that's my addition to what Cloudy Chip is speaking of. He didn't get to the end part, and there's an important factor. Basically, the Fireflies are this mythical, rebels fighting against all odds and fighting against the military, who's basically abusing the world because of everything that's happening. And they have a resource center that they would like to try to find the cure and the vaccine. And the way to do that is with this young girl who's immune to it. Later on, am I going to spoil this part here, or you want to try to jump in on that?
Nah, so so my thing is right now, one of the touching moments for me, man, and if anybody who's following me on my stream, yesterday I ended up coming across it, and it was just a really touching moment. It was with Henry and his little brother, man, and that was a really touching moment as well, because you see this brother who was sitting there taking the responsibility of a father and sitting there trying to do everything in his power to protect them, to show his brother the way, try to help develop him as a man, especially don't matter the age limit. When you put in a situation that these kids are getting put into, I don't think, not even me, that's so hard to deal with. And then not knowing enough. So, like they talk about, like, a perfect example. They talk, Ellie and the boy, I forget the boy's name. But they end up talking about the ice cream truck. And they're like, oh yeah, this is the ice. And Ellie's like, oh my god, what is it? And it's like so clueless. Like what Mag was saying, you're talking about kids that don't know our world, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and like Henry, doing barbecues with his family and sitting there, being out in the yard and just having a normal life, and everything coming to an end and being what it is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so when all of a sudden his little brother ends up getting infected,
His brother
and
Sam.
his brother Sam, yeah, gets infected, and Henry has to make a decision, and he ends up shooting his own brother, and just to save Joe and to save Ellie. But it was such a hard decision just to be able to just to witness that, even for the couple seconds he did, his brother turning, and have to make a quick decision on what to do, whether to shoot him or not to shoot him. Then he ends up shooting him, and having to live with that pain, it was just too much to bear, to the point that he went and shot himself and took his own life. And that was a really powerful moment, man. And this game has a lot of those moments. Um, but those two, Sarah, Joe's daughter passing, the way that happened, and then the way this happened, two really big dramatic like story plots, man. And that is why those are like those two little segments alone compared to everything else that we're gonna get into a little bit further down the line. It are real big reasons why this game did so well. The story was so powerful, and then not only that, you know, all the expectations, not only with gameplay was okay, but I think it's mostly the story that did it. And there's some mixed things going into part two, which we're gonna cover a little bit more. Of course, no leaks, no spoilers, anything like that. Just strictly talking about the first one leading up to the second. All right, Max. So you want to continue where I left off?
Yeah, so that story, just a lot of layers on there, but the layers of the kids and the discovery, and that's what I was speaking of earlier, is more giving the players wonder also about who they were, how they grew up, their innocence, and the things that they find. And me myself, being an older man, I've been putting myself in the mindset as a child, discovering new video games that I would never play in my life, listening to different music and just being different. And normally, when you see a teenager, they got the rebellious years where they might go gothic or emo and they got their nails black or something crazy. These are kind of just explorations of our human ability to try to find and be more, do more, and just experience different things. So the game does that for us, but it also gives us Joel, who's dark and heavy. And there's a scene where Joel admits, because they're driving and he sees a man screaming, "Oh, I'm injured! Oh, my leg! I need help! Please help me!" And he tells Ellie to fasten her seatbelt. He's like, "Fasten your seatbelt." And he just tries to run the guy over, and he gets away. And Ellie's asking him, "Hey, what? How did you know he was faking it?" And basically, they try to uh, trap him. So they used that guy as a lure, and there was other guys there trying to trap him. So he said he was on the other side. So Joel basically expressed how it is that he lived the life of one of those scavenger type of people out there killing people, innocent people, for loot or for whatever. And this is where you see that, damn, like this guy got weight on his life, like a lot of darkness. And he comes into this place where this kid and him become inseparable. Sorry. So they become inseparable. And there's beautiful moments where that starts to slowly develop because they had a very rough, and they both were very edgy to each other. And then you see the development. That's the beautiful part of the story. So then comes after that, some of the key moments for me and the main story, for what I want to know for part two. And the question, it's a question that I'm going to ask, and everybody can talk about it if you're watching this. So the, put it in the comments. The question is, put the question and the answer that you think. And of course, you're going to spoil it because the game's going to be out by now. Hopefully, I'll beat it before I look at the comments. Basically, the question is, does Ellie ever find out that Joel lied about the fireflies? And the reason this is a question, if you don't know, what happens at the end is the fireflies find Ellie and they go to do surgery in her brain because that's where the activity is to be able to create a vaccine. And they needed that, but they were going to kill her. That was the only way to extract it, basically taking it out of her brain. So instead of that happening, the player, us, we go into the hospital, we take everybody out, we take Ellie, we put her in the car, and Ellie asks what happened. Now, the interesting part about the story is that Ellie's eyes are watering. And my assumption is that she already knew that the Fireflies were trying to do the right thing to save the world, and she was willing to sacrifice herself because she said this at the start of the game when they first meet him. It's like, she explains what's happening, and she's like, "This can't be for nothing." And that's a powerful moment of sacrifice herself, willing to sacrifice herself, everything that they went through so that she could sacrifice herself. So maybe she knew that the Fireflies were going to do this because she was in a coma. She fell in the water and things happened before that. But she asked Joel twice. First, Joel answered when they were in the car. Then at the very end of the game, they were outside standing, looking and discussing the future or what's happened. And she asked him to promise, is that true what you said about the Fireflies? With tears in her eyes, Joel lies to her, and she's eyes are watery, and the game ends pretty much right there. And basically, we're gonna have a cool story. There's a lot of other things going on in part two, but this small story can be really manipulated because, as we know, we've all told white lies. I've told plenty of lies about things trying to protect my family or protect myself from uh,
The
moments
scrutiny
in my past
of
that
others. Yeah.
my moments in my past that were very dark or embarrassing or just silly little things that I'm ashamed of. It's like, hey, you go to the gym today? Yeah, 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 bro. It's like 2 hours. Bro. I was I'm sore right now, man. No, so we do these things. So Joel and Ellie's relationship during the next game can be very dramatic. And he's basically imagining living with this lie that you could have saved the world. But one man was so selfish that he said, no, I'm not going to let that happen. And then she lived this life. Who knows what she's been through all this time in this next part two,
I believe
everything
it's
to
four
get up to.
years. I believe they're going out 4 years from, and she was 14 in the game. In this game, this present moment,
Yeah.
where she is 14 years old. And my understanding is that they actually have it at 4 years later. So part two continues, I believe, four
I don't
years
know.
later.
This guy watches spoilers. Let's not listen to him. But what
No,
I'm
I'm not.
trying to explain is
No, wait. But all I'm saying is that it starts 4 years later. So yeah, you're right. What has happened all this
a
time?
lot. A lot. And my thing is that just to, even this is my co-bro, co-bro.
Yeah.
This is my co-bro cousin. But if I was trying to save the world to sacrifice myself, and I wake up and he tells me a story that, hey, they were wrong. They were just trying to use you and they were going to take your brain and donate it and, just whatever. He tells me something. And then I find out years later, that's hard to do. It's different. Like I said,
And
if he said he was going to the gym, I could understand that. But if you're talking about saving the world, that type of white lie that you're gonna give me, that's definitely a white lie. It's not a black lie because black lives matter, but it's definitely a white lie. And I definitely feel like I said, I feel this is gonna be my focus. Like I really want to hope that the writers said they're gonna put storyline in there. So now Joey and Ellie are fighting with each other. They got problems, or maybe the game starts off them not respecting each other, and then we find out why, what happened, or whatever. Something deeper. And the reason I say that is because you can go anywhere with that and make it into a whole thing. Is Joel the bad guy for the next game? You know, who knows? Could get crazy. I'm not saying that should be the answer, but that's just my opinion. So that's how the game ends, and there's just so many ways part two can go, but part one had these. That's just to end what I'm saying when it comes to part one is part one had, and I want to ask Cloudy about this. Part one had the character development
yeah.
that opened the story into a new world, and now that's where I'm gonna ask you, Cloudy.
Yeah.
Outside of the brothers, which was an amazing scene, and the suicide thing is very serious. If you ever feel that way, you go find help, talk to someone. I'm always open. My DM is always open. I've said this all the time to people, but that was a serious moment also. But where in the story was it for you that made you just say, "I love these two. I love Joel. I love Ellie." Like where was that moment that you can remember, just story or maybe gameplay wise, that you're like, "Yo, this is awesome. This is it right here." That's what I want to know when it comes to part one.
I could say from part one. I think it was just throughout the whole story. They started off a little rough, and then he ended up getting this like love towards this little girl who was just a nobody to him at the beginning. You know, he's just like Mag was saying, he was a hunter. You know, he just didn't care, and he ends up catching feelings and feeling some type of emotions towards a little girl, a young girl that came in his life, and now he looks at her like that's his daughter, the daughter he lost, right? And he's building a relationship with this girl throughout the story, which ends up becoming something more. And then like, and as far as like at least at such a young age to sit there and be like, oh, I'm gonna give myself to the Fireflies to sacrifice myself, and who knows? I don't, and I don't think at a young age like that. I don't think she. I don't know. Maybe y'all guys can sit there in the comments and tell me if I'm wrong. Can really put together like does she really understand what was going to happen?
Yes, she did.
Like
No,
she
no,
was
no,
going
no.
like the
So
dramatic. Like does she think that she was just gonna go under and they were gonna do testing, or does she know that she was actually
yeah,
gonna give up her
no,
life?
but the implementation of the beginning, somewhere in the middle-ish, not beginning, but in the middle, where they're going through all this stuff, and then Joel's like, "Let's just forget about this. Let's just move forward and forget about it." And she's like, "No, this can't be all for nothing." Like basically saying she's willing to do whatever it takes
Yeah,
to make it happen. So there's a debate, you know, on the situation. But the revealing part was at the end when they said it's in her brain, and the only way to get it is to extract it. So that's when you see she might die and all of that stuff. So there is a conversation to have about did she know or did she not know, and that's really cool, and that's going to be a part of the story. I hope that they really add on value to it.
and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping they give explanation to. I have a feeling like with every lie comes to light. And if when Joe told that lie, I have a feeling they're gonna go into depth on it, as to why he lied, because you don't know what they told her. You know what she was formed to believe, right? So now we're sitting here thinking that Joe's, oh, he should have never done that. But at the same time, it's like you have a kid who is like, let's say you have your only child, and your only child is not gonna make it. You know this because they have to extract the brain and they have nothing to replace it with. So she's going to die. Are you willing to sacrifice your child? And because that's what this game, this character development ended up turning into that. The
Somewhat. I
love.
mean, they're not father and daughter, but definitely that type of that the thing. I'm a father, and I'm selfish right now to say hell no.
Yeah.
I'll let myself be sacrificed for it if I had to bring a better world for my kids and for everything. But to be like, here, take my kid. That's a you know,
It's tough.
it's not it's
It's
not
a tough
possible.
one.
It's not possible. But you know, I don't know, man. Some people are different. Who knows? Maybe there's some people that could be strong enough for that type of behavior. But anyway, I don't know. I like I said, for the main part for me, if you're watching this, which is a little bit late, the game part two is already releasing. But my thing would be, what attachments did you get? Are you into these other characters? There's a
I
lot of other characters also, like
I
Tommy,
I
Bill.
think I grew the biggest attachment to Joe. I just like his edginess, and I was just like, you know what, this guy's pretty edgy. And then you got this girl who ends up becoming a little bit more edgy, but she's still soft and a sweetheart and not knowing enough, right? And Joe's the protector and saying, you know what, no, don't do that, don't do this, be careful. And it's like I said, the situation between the father and the daughter, father and the kid, right? And I think that was like and for part two, I I hope they continue that. Basically the growth within these two characters. I hope they just don't split it. And what I mean by split is saying, we're gonna focus only on Ellie's story away from Joe, and Joe will come in and pieces here and there, but he's not gonna be a big part of what
That's
part
exactly
two
what's gonna
is.
happen.
And I'm hoping that that's not the case. And like I
That
said, I
isn't.
don't know, but I'm hoping that's not the
I'm
case
pretty sure that's the case. I'm
because
pretty sure.
that was like a really big deal. As far as like, you spent so much time developing these two characters to break them away is crazy. It's similar to,
Yeah,
you
but you're
know,
living in 2020 and you're living on a everything must be diverse setup, whether it's about sexism or racism, the
yes,
issues that have been happening. So people want that desperately, and Naughty Dogs is going to deliver by creating a female hero who's 90% of the game played, and then maybe you get some Joel sprinkled in. It's my guess. I haven't played it,
yeah.
but that'll be my guess. And I don't see nothing wrong with it. She's a badass if you see the footage
She
of the
is.
gameplay.
She is a badass.
The difference is you can change the skin and then put Joel in there. So you basically got the same thing. What I did like from The Last of Us Part 1, just to stay on focus on Part 1, um, gameplay wise, the switch. So there's a moment where I have to be sniping, right? And I could play as Joel. And then I got another situation where Ellie's sniping and I'm sneaking around, running around fighting. So that back and forth, the gameplay wise, being
Yep.
able to be like, all right, I could stealth in this part. This part's gonna be mayhem fighting. This part's gonna be all zombies coming after
Yeah,
me.
that
This
was
part's gonna
that
be
was amazing.
so that variety is good. That's what I like. So either way, as long as they keep that type of variety for us, I don't really care if it's just Ellie the whole game. To be honest, for me, but I wouldn't mind playing Joel, and I do agree with that. That would have been nice, but I feel like, um, she's a focal point now. She's grown. She was badass as a kid. Like she was real badass. And now she's darker. I think she's turning into Joel slowly. We're gonna watch her develop that rage and anger and all of this stuff uh, inside of her. So it'd be interesting.
So yeah, so my thing is that from part one, a lot of the characters, like besides Ellie and Joe, a lot of main characters got killed off. Tess got kicked off. Madeline, I keep forgetting her name. Madeline ended up getting killed off too. I think his brother Tommy got killed too.
No, no, Tommy's alive.
Is he? Am I
Yeah.
confusing
So
him with
so
David? Um,
uh
yeah,
probably.
David's passed. David's dead. Ellie killed him.
Yeah,
And
David. That's a bad guy. But no,
yeah,
there's still Bill, who was the paranoia guy.
that had
Um
all the booby traps.
yeah. He was
Yeah,
a, he
yeah,
was a king paranoia who's gonna hopefully come out because that's a dope
yeah.
character. Actually, he's a douche, but he's a cool character to have. So like in video games, you want to have diversity. Like game I'm creating has all types of characters, and they're really fun because you want the worst villain, or you want the funny smart villain, or you want the slick strong villain, or you want the cool kid or the nerdy this. And they did a good job. And I think Tommy coming back, Bill coming back would be nice. If they don't bring them both, it's fine. I guarantee one of them will pop up. Most likely Tommy, because you've seen how much heart he had. He was willing to help, and he wanted to do the right thing, willing to leave his wife. He was settled down and had a good life, and he was willing to leave that to help Ellie out to get to where she needed to go to try to save the world. So I think Tommy's a cool character. Why not? Why can't we play as Tommy? You know, Ellie kills Joel in the beginning of the game because he lied to her. And then
Nah, bro, don't be doing
Tommy
this.
listen, and then Tommy comes and kills Ellie, and then we play as Tommy the whole game.
Nah, let's not do
No,
that,
I'm just
bro.
playing. I'm just playing. That's
Jeez, bro.
ridiculous. That'd be the worst. But I'm just saying, these characters are cool. Like I like
I
Tommy. He
think
was a dope
honestly,
guy.
if I had to say, let's say Ellie does die in part two, right? And
Wow.
I don't
Nah, that
know.
one.
I don't know if she does or she
This is a
doesn't.
Naughty Dog
I
game.
say
Spoiler
let's.
alert. Spoiler alert for all the Uncharted games. Drake never dies. Spoiler alert. He's always surviving. Everything's perfect in the world. There's hardly no one dying in Uncharted. It's like, oh, my wife is fine and everybody's fine. Sully's 80,000 years old, but he's still alive. So,
You don't know
Naughty
how many
Dog does.
years went by, bro.
Listen, I'm salty. I'm salty because I love Uncharted, and I think it's one of the
It
greatest.
is a
But
great
it
game.
always ends with the same
Good
Hollywood
story. Yeah.
ending. and I don't mind that it feels good. But then, like on a like creative level, when I play it, I'm like, damn. So the thing with The Last of Us is not like that. There's a lot of darkness, and I like it better because of that. So
Yeah.
even though I play Uncharted more, and I love Uncharted more in a lot of ways, uh, The Last of Us story wise, it kills off characters. It doesn't play nice, like everybody's fine and the world's perfect. It's like it's real. It's real. So that's why I'm waiting for it. I'm gonna spend the whole weekend. I'm
But
not
yeah,
going out. And I text everybody, leave me alone. I'm gonna play
so
this game. I'm gonna be streaming it all night. Plug right now. You can come all weekend and join me
yeah,
for
yeah.
Tag
If
with
anybody
Mac.
wants to check him out, he's actually, if you look at the bottom right, he's is actually info for Twitch is on there. His Twitter's on there. Go follow him. Check him out, man. So another thing too, if, like I was saying, if Ellie was to die in part two, this is how I think it will happen, and I could be
Why are
wrong.
you
This
even
is
exploring this? Are you watching spoilers? And if she does
Nah,
die, then
no,
you're the
no,
worst
no,
person in
no.
the
This
world.
is just my predicament. This is me thinking. So we all know viruses eventually your body doesn't get immune to it anymore. So the next time you're infected, you might not be immune, right? And that's how viruses typically work because they mutate, right? So I'm thinking that she ends up getting bit again and ends up turning into one of those things.
If this happens, then he's the worst person I ever knew in my life. First of all, you're destroying a podcast by spoiling it.
No,
Secondly,
no,
you
I
spoiled
don't
it for
know.
me,
I
which
don't
is
know
even
this.
worse.
I'm
I don't go
saying
on social media, so I've never seen a
I'm
spoiler.
speaking straight off just based off part one and being immune to the virus and thinking like what okay, so I know viruses mutate. What if Ellie gets infected and is not immune anymore? Right?
We just turned this into a conspiracy theory concept.
So that's anyways, that's the what if. But that's honestly
I
what's
don't
been
want.
on my mind.
That's worse than mine. I thought killing off Joel was bad, but yours sounds a lot worse.
uh
I would not want to see her turn into a zombie. And then what? What does the game turn into? A zombie
zombie
playable
apocalypse.
characters? Zombie playable characters. Try to make everybody a zombie in the game,
or
basically.
or I can probably see them finding a cure, and in the way they'll find a cure is not through Ellie, it's probably through someone else, or who knows?
Ain't no cure. They already make it.
Maybe Ellie ends up pregnant and her baby's immune.
Bro, they're writing part 3 right now as we speak. This is going to be probably one of the biggest selling games in the history of all PlayStation. Pretty sure. It's going to beat out every game that they had, most likely, by the weekend. And then from there, they're going to be like, let's not work on Uncharted. Let's not do anything else. We're going to make this game. And then what happens is Sony puts in more resources, so they hire more people. They create another division, and now they have more resources to continue to pound this out. And then in the next 3 years, by 2023, mark my words, we will have a Last of Us 3 or earlier, but definitely 2023
Nah,
is my guess.
I don't think
I,
2023. There's
yeah,
no way.
for sure. They're
Nah.
making a TV show right now.
There is no way. Yeah, TV show I can understand, but it may be in 2023 the TV show or maybe a movie comes out replicating The Last of Us and the great story that they've been telling. But or it's gonna take like 6 to 7 years, bro. Look at how long it took for The
No,
Last of
no.
Us 1 to go over to 2. You know?
Yeah, but they made like four.
and-
They made like four Uncharted games.
And no, and not only that, but games are becoming a lot bigger, a lot more.
Yeah,
you
but
need
you
a lot
don't
more
know.
developers. You need a lot
All right,
more
check
resources.
this. I'll explain it to you like this. So everything you see in the Uncharted, I'm sorry, in The Last of Us 2, is part of the development of Uncharted. If you ever played Uncharted, you see all the mechanics that it has. They take a lot of those implementations and they add them on. For example, even swinging. You've seen Drake swinging on the thing in Uncharted. Right now, Ellie's gonna be swinging in this game. Spoiler alert. That's a mechanic that they're adding on, but there's a lot of mechanics that come from there. And right now, the new system for Part 2 is easily going to transfer over, and then they're just gonna add on new layers to the PlayStation 5 version when it releases on 2023. Mark my words. Y'all could just clip this and then send it to me. Send it to me back on 2023 and be like, lies. You know what I mean? But it's not going to take 6 or 7 years. Like I told you, if you look at the window of Naughty Dogs, they put out 4 Uncharted games, a bunch of other spin-offs for it. They have an Uncharted spin-off. Then they have Last of Us Remastered, The Last of Us DLC, Left Behind. They have a list. So you're talking about almost 10 games in 10 years. So when you say 6 years, sure, it'll take 6 years if they go back to Uncharted. But the facts are that since they've done 4 Uncharteds, they have to reverse the role and focus on The Last of Us since it's the most popular game in the world right now. Not just because of the weekend, but because it does numbers. Every video is breaking records and stuff like that. When they reveal stuff, they've been right up there, top of the tier. So I think selling wise, they're going to be doing really good this weekend. So that's my point. But anyway, we're getting into a lot of philosophies. What else we got on the menu for today's show
All right.
outside of conspiracy theories?
All right. So next, I actually wanted to talk about gameplay, man, because I know this game takes a little bit of everything. It takes a little bit from Tomb Raider. If anybody's played Tomb Raider, there's have a little bit of a crafting system. Slight puzzles, but it's not the puzzles on The Last of Us is not really puzzles. They're more like just gotta think and just kind of look at what's around you and use that to get to your next place, right? So whether you gotta step on it or move a ladder here or do that's not really considered a puzzle. That's considered just using an object, moving it to another spot. But as far as like the crafting systems there, I think that's like the biggest thing, man. And using the bow and arrow. A lot of games are starting to dive into like using bow and arrows. The Horizon Zero Dawn has
The greatest
does.
feeling. No, I don't care about Tomb Raider. The greatest feeling on a bow and arrow is Horizon Zero Dawn that I've ever played
It's
so far.
good. It's good.
It's just so right. Is right. But talk about gameplay. I'm cutting you off on that whole thing. Gameplay wise, they did a good job for what it is. They did a good job.
Yeah, awesome
I'm the
job.
biggest critic. I'm the biggest critic of their gameplay, and the reason why is because I believe they're one of the greatest studios of all time. I got them in my top 5 studios wise. But Uncharted also is very clunky, and The Last of Us is very clunky gameplay wise. And the AIs are usually typically ignorant in the sense of like sometimes they're glitchy and just certain things happen that are just like what. And it's okay if they're unpredictable AI, but when they're not even intelligent, like they're not like reactive to you, and those are the biggest flaws I had for The Last of Us. But overall, if I was to try to give it the positives, basically, like I said earlier, one moment I'm sniping, trying to protect Ellie, Sam, and his brother, and or next thing you know, I'm infiltrating while Ellie's sniping and going through that, or sitting there fighting. They have mini boss fight inside the gym with the big blob. The first time you got to fight one, things in that
Bloaters.
nature. Bloaters, yeah. So all of these characters and all these different things combine to create a great experience for me. They did a well job trying to balance it. Basically, the balance was good. And the gameplay isn't always good as far as mechanically or AI wise sometimes, but the balance switching it up for us. So one moment I'm stealthing, the next moment I'm getting chased by zombies, the other moment there's a snipe moment. All those little variety adds so much to the game with an amazing story. So that's what it is. Hey, check your text real quick. But yeah, so that's where I personally love it, and I'm very happy with this game because the story just immerses you so much that even those small little minor issues that we have with every game that we don't like, if the overall game is great, we'll enjoy it and experience it with pleasure. And that's what Naughty Dog does, regardless of some of their problems.
All
And
right.
I think
So
part 2 is going to be better gameplay wise, and everything I've ever said about it is going to change.
so I want to talk a little bit about the gameplay, man. So my thing is that they gave us some crafting stuff, so you can craft a smoke bomb, craft, um, you know, health, craft, the little knives, the shivs. things like that. I hope they give us some more stuff to craft. I would like that. As far as what that is, not sure. Maybe like a bow and arrow. Let's say for some reason you're like, you know what, I wanna, you know, craft a bow and arrow just so it goes a little further or something like that. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Um, they let us craft bombs, but you know, we can plant mines instead. Allowing us to plant mines. That wouldn't be a bad idea neither. Like I want to see them do a little bit more with the crafting, which I don't know what it looks like, but I'm hoping that it's a little bit more intuitive than what they have now. Um, as far as villains and things like that, like I hope they did a really good job of putting the bloaters and certain enemy types in there, like the runners, um, stuff like that. I hope they create, well, at least they have right now. They have the dogs, infected dogs. Hoping they put one more. So I know about the infected dog. I hope they put just one more, and then put like one or two more, like actual like people villains. So like hunter villains, in there. Like I believe the only hunter villain that was really a villain in The Last of Us One was David. That I can actually think off the top of my mind, and the whole cinematic with everything burning down and you having to fight around, go around and try to hide from him. That was actually a nice little neat way to do a boss fight, and I would like to see more of that, in different ways, and even taking it outside. Like if anybody's played Metal Gear, I'm referring Metal Gear right now. The maybe you can help me out with this, Mag. The guy who falls asleep, the little old man in Part 3 in Metal Gear 3,
His name is The End.
the end. Similar, that boss fight can be played in so many different ways. It's ridiculous, and it was so creative to do a boss fight in that manner, just like Psycho Mantis and things like that. That I hope that Naughty Dog took the time to create at least one or two bosses that can live up to something like that.
I will cut you off right there.
Um,
So the developer, the creator, the number one creator, has talked about this for part one, and he doesn't ever want to have actual boss fights in the game. The blotter that you got to fight with was the only one, and it was situational for part one. And the reason why he said this is because he wants players to feel immersed in the world. He doesn't want it to feel like they are, a boss comes out, you got the health bar, and you gotta, stay there until you beat them type of
yeah,
scenario
yeah,
where it takes players out of the story, out of their experience. So that's what the creator said
it's understandable.
a while ago. So I don't expect what you're saying, but I do love boss fights. But
No,
I
but
do respect what they're saying vision wise. They wanted to
no,
keep it within the story and keep the
no,
flow going.
I can 100% agree to that. And what I'm saying is like David, it to me was a boss fight at the end when Ellie's trying to hide from him and he's trying to look for her and everything's burning down, and that to me is a boss fight.
Yeah, but it's
And
not in the traditional sense. So
no,
that's
no,
where
it's
like
not the traditional sense,
they
but
have
it
they
was
have people
in.
you have to fight like that throughout the game. You fight
Okay,
a
so
bunch of.
if that's what they're doing in part two, I think they're in the right track, man. Because I loved it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, man, and like I said, I hope they don't get rid of the ability to hold multiple weapons the way you do in part one. So you can switch from a shotgun to a rifle. You can switch from like a regular handgun to a revolver, and then switch over to your to a shorty, like a little short shotgun, or you can switch over to a bow and arrow. It just you can play it. You can use any weapon you want and play in so many different types of ways. It's crazy to me, and I actually loved and enjoyed the fact that I can immerse myself in different ways throughout the story. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go in this little room, and instead of using this, instead of using a rifle, I'm gonna go ahead and use my shotgun. And instead of doing that, I'm gonna use my handgun. You know, I hope they do something in that sense. Not only that, maybe they can. You know what would be crazy? Talking about crafting. Now since they already announced they have dogs in the game, I wonder if there's a way for you to craft little doggy treats that they eat and they fall asleep. That wouldn't be a bad idea. You know, that would
Yeah.
be pretty cool.
I guess. I mean, it's a mechanic. That's a Kojima mechanic. Something simple and silly. Um, I think more so, you can distract the dogs throwing something the opposite way. So there's a cool mechanic in part two if we're gonna talk about it, where you can go into your sense mode. You know how you can see through the wall to see the enemies, but you
Yep.
can also see where the dog is smelling you. So the dog can track your scent. So if you go all the way around the building, the dog can is gonna follow that scent all the way around. But if you're slick, you start maneuvering certain ways to confuse it. And on top of it, you can use bottles and stuff like that to throw noise to throw them off your tracks for a little bit. So those are the type of implementation they already have confirmed. But what you're talking about, just some little dog snack, it would have to be meat or something that, I don't know.
Well,
These dogs,
maybe you can kill wild animal out and about, use the meat, and then poison it, and put it as a booby trap. You know, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I'm giving away too many ideas right now, man.
it's a
These
little
are
too late. The
two.
game's the
Nah,
game's already out
I know.
in New Zealand. I'm about to buy the game right now in
Not
New
only that, but
Zealand
there's
so I can
people
play it.
online that already are getting a hold of the actual physical copy right now. But I know, right, like we're both anxious for this, man. And the reason why we're so anxious and the reason why this is such a big deal is because the game did a lot to attract and not only just players like me, but just build character as well within the game. And that's like one of the reasons why I want to go back and play part two. It's the story was it's better than most movies. Just to put it simply, that's
Definitely, 100%.
it's
I
better
think
than most movies, and you got some stories that a couple. There's not a lot of like games that I can think of that have done that to that extent.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
There's definitely
Masterful,
it's definitely a masterful experience, but
yeah.
for me, the keeping the not just the story but the gameplay also in there. So I'll give it a, before I go on. I'm gonna go and talk about my favorite creator. This is it right here for me. I'm gonna about to call it, but Death Stranding, for example, the story was so incredible that it still blows my mind. I had to, and I never do this. I finished the game and I watched three people play the game on stream. I went to my friend. She's a great streamer, Fem Steph. Uh, Shout out to her. She's having a baby. Congratulations. She is so incredible. So she went through the whole game, very thoughtful, playing different gameplay, straight up puzzle style. And then one of my male friends, he went straight forward, aggressive, fighting, trying to kill. Gameplay wise, the game allows you to do that, but it's meant to be a non-lethal, uh, you know, take care of the world game focus, and the puzzles of how to get around without avoiding combat and going through the right places to be efficient and not destroy your items, your goal. Really cool. But the reason I bring this up is because the story was so mind boggling. Rewatching people play helped me truly understand it. And a lot of games can't do that. They can't take you to layers of video games. And Kojima's the greatest at it. But Naughty Dogs does a good job with The Last of Us, the original. I don't know about part two, that they have layers. And I haven't even tried to touch on them because we got to go in deep into the psychological Ellie, or not even Ellie, Joel. Why is Ellie a bisexual? Did this something affect her in her past, or is there just something recent? And what makes Joel be the way he was or the way he is? And all these varieties that just add layers. And so that's why I agree.
We
Better than any
we
movie
just found out right
we've
now.
seen.
I think as well as Joe's bi as well, bisexual
Where
as
you
well.
hear that from?
I
Just
think
making that up?
no, I think they've hinted at it
Oh, come
through
on.
the magazine that was in the car,
Oh,
and
oh,
she was
oh.
joking about
That
it,
wasn't
saying,
his car.
"Oh, wait a
The
minute, I
dude never
wasn't."
had a car.
Well, I could have sworn they hinted at it. I could be
The
wrong.
his friend Bill, what they did hint on, I think it was Bill,
Yeah.
the crazy paranoid guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one who his boyfriend hung himself in the house.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the gay part of the guy, but not the girl. But the point is, there's a lot of psychological things going on
Yep.
with development wise, and I think it did better job than any movie did. A lot of movies did, and overall, so pretty cool. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for part two. I'm actually gonna be prepping for it. I have to cancel my event tonight to prepare for that because this podcast took up my day. So
Yeah. Not only that,
thanks.
but EA plays tonight as well, seven
It's right
o'clock.
now. It's happening.
Actually, it's
So,
not right now
but
time, but
yeah, it's right now at 7 o'clock.
oh
It's
wow.
literally
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Soon. Soon.
yeah.
I
Thanks.
well.
So
Anyways, you want to wrap up?
yeah, so my last thing would be if you're watching this now, apologies that we took this long. We should have been doing this 3 months ago, 4 months ago for people to enjoy, and we can keep diving into this further. But this is the opening show for Cloudy Cast, an awesome podcast for you guys where he dives in. It. Hopefully, he doesn't just have me. He can bring in his friends. He can bring in some supporters. He can have his wife one day play a video game. I would love to see his wife just come in one day, play a full game, some game, any game, and then just have her talk about it because there's people who don't are not into games, and
Yeah,
when
my
they
wife's
get
is not really into video games.
yeah, but when they get into it and they start learning and they really give it a little bit of heart
Mm-hmm.
and actual open up, it changes the way they really feel and think, and they see things a lot deeper. So it would be cool to have a variety of people come along and just be a part of this new podcast that you got going.
Yeah, man.
And
This is new. This is exciting for me, man, because I've been wanting to do a podcast. Eventually, this will probably turn into something a little bit more. But this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and as you can tell, I'm actually inspired, man. Mag inspires me a ton, but it's having this video game coming out as well was a big push for me, and it was one of those things that's like, yo, I need to talk about this. It was like I said, the game was so dramatic, and having part two being released was one of those things that pushed me to say, you know what, let me start getting a podcast going now, just because it's a little bit late into the story, but it's something I want to continue to put out to you guys. And if you guys enjoy it, feel free to comment below. Feel free to check me out some more. My link will be in the description. Also, Mag's link will be in the description as well. Check him out over at Twitch. Support me as well over at Twitch. Follow us on Twitter, where we constantly just talk. Like me and him sometimes have conversation live on Twitter. Sometimes I'll throw something up and we'll go back and forth in comments about a particular topic, and you guys can be a part of that as well. But this game right here is what's one of the games that actually is pushing me over the edge, and it's actually putting me to want to do more with gaming. And anybody who knows me, who's watching this right now, gaming's been a part of my life since I was a kid, and wanting to do something more. It's always been part of my journey and something that I wanted to do. So, I'm glad to be able to share that with you guys, and hopefully, stick around. There's gonna be some really good stuff coming around your way, man. All right, so I'm about to start wrapping this up. Mag, you got last words? Any last words?
everything you said, man, I agree with it. Should be fun. There's a lot of games we'll be playing, a lot of discussions to have about the games. I can't
Yep.
wait for the second portion. By Monday, I'll be ready for the next podcast, which we'll talk about part two. It's gonna be spoiled full. I ain't going into part two. I'm swinging for the fences. So I normally don't do spoilers on my streams. I don't talk about that type of stuff unless I'm playing the game at the moment and I could talk about things that are happening.
Yep.
But I'm so happy that he got this podcast because now I'm gonna be venting out every single detail. So next week, hopefully he's ready to go because I don't know how long he's gonna take. But I'm gonna be done on Sunday night. It's
I
my
believe it.
guarantee.
I believe it. The game's 40 hours long, 15-hour days. We'll get
15-hour
there.
days, bro. I'm going in. So
Yeah.
yeah, so catch us next one. If you do watch us and you're one of my peoples, thank you so much for tuning in. Cloudy Chip's a great guy, better than me. better than I have been in my whole life. So if we add each other's lives up, he's lived a greater life. He's a great, cool dude. He's a lot more sillier than me in different ways, humor wise, and you guys will like it in the long run. Today was just a warm up startup kit for this podcast, and we're gonna continue it next week. Hopefully, he's ready, and then we could talk about part two. I'm going in. If he opens up that door to do the part two, I'm spoiling the whole game. I'm swinging. So that's what it is, man. Have fun. Take care. I hope y'all enjoy it. If you haven't played it yet, go play it. Play part one if you haven't played part one. They not paying us for this. This is just straight up, passion that we discuss in the games. So
Yeah.
that's all I got for you guys. Yeah, nope.
All right, sounds good, man. Nice having you on, man. Appreciate you. Everybody watching below, if you like what you see, like, comment like usual, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all guys, bro, on the next one. Peace.